Candace Owens is also live with 200,000 live concurrent viewers. What the
I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. Okay. That's just structurally, that's not proper English. Okay. It's either I have, okay, or I had, past tense. Again, not clear. Police found a photograph of this note and the following text exchange.
250K now? Still
After
says
reading
208,000 for me.
The roommate texts Tyler
and in 20
and he says,
minutes.
"What? You're joking, right?" Robinson writes, "I'm still okay, my love, but I am stuck in a REM for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still."
Oh, you mean with us?
To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you.
The thing that's like
replies,
kind of weird about this back and forth with the roommate, by the way, is that it basically, like, why is this so, like, why is this such a large revelation? Like, he basically cops to it and admits it and says everything that an investigator would want to get out of this back and forth correspondence, like detailing how he like hid the gun. He wanted to circle back and get the gun. Like, it's the most insane text message chain I've ever seen. I'm not going to say it's like fake, it's made up or anything like that, but it's just a very weird pattern of speech. Maybe he was just a weird guy.
Referring to the rifle, but there was a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson says, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hopefully they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel." What? You're worried about explaining losing the rifle to your father, not worried that you left the rifle and therefore it's obviously going to be found out. Like, the only thing that you left was the murder weapon.
I mean, that makes sense because turns out his dad was the one who suspected him of being the shooter, and the rifle was a component of his suspicion, and therefore that's not the suspicious part. The suspicious part here is that he's just like detailing exactly what investigators would want to tie him to the crime. And the subsequent attempts of like clearing his name.
Check under quickly and see, and I took care of it, and he's where? And now he's giving him an accounting of exactly what's taken place, which means if this is right after and they're still in lockdown, he's what? Monitoring the situation? Because this is going to give us a timeline, whether they tell us when these messages happened or not. The fact that he already knows that they grabbed some crazy old dude and that they also interrogated someone in similar clothing, we're going to be able to go back and plot exactly when that happened, or at least when the public was informed, because this whole correspondence is very strange to me. It's very strange to me. He then is even more explicit, talk about trying to cover your tracks, but then explicitly texting everything to your lover. He says, "The only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The effing messages are mostly a meme. If I see notices bulge on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it. That really effing sucks." Okay, so if this is our guy, oh, we're not done, let's finish. That really sucks, he's gotta leave it. And then he says, "Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I think that was a $2,000 scope." And then he does a winky face. And then he tells him, "Delete this exchange." And then Robinson says, "My dad wants photos of the rifle." He says, "Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now." Not answering. So his dad's calling him. Okay, well, the dad, this is interesting. When is this text chain taking place? Okay. Because we just heard that, the dad, they figured it out the next day. They're making it sound like this all happened back to back. Is this happening over 2 days? Why not tell us this instantly so I can work it into my timeline? Okay, are these messages day one? And then what? They had no correspondence at all until he jumps right back in and says, my dad's calling me. Where were you when your dad called you? You guys live together. Why are you texting at all? Why didn't this kid immediately call? If they're in lockdown and he needs to go back and get his rifle, right? This kid could have, and I'm speaking about Lance, could have contacted immediately.
Yeah, it is awfully convenient that this text message back and forth literally plugs all of the narrative holes that we had that the investigation could not address. That, and also the fact that the George Zing guy has CP.
And says, well, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson says, I'm going to turn myself
Why
in
can't you have
willingly.
this level
One
of
my
live production
neighbors is
value?
here.
You've been doing this for nearly a decade and it's still ass? The f are you talking about? What's wrong with you? First of all, this is a pre-produced show that she puts together for like an hour. I'm live for 8 hours, sometimes 9 hours. And a big part of what I do is also back and forth correspondence with loudmouths such as yourself. Okay? She does not do chat interactions. She has a producer that changes camera angles.
What'd you say?
Around some of these exchanges, there's ellipses above if you look really closely.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're cherry picking certain exchanges. So that my dad is super MAGA just comes out of nowhere because they picked it from a totally different part of the conversation.
Yeah, these messages are clearly doctored, is what I would say. They're doctored. Now, they could decide why they're doing that. Tyler's being forthcoming. We're protecting him in some capacity. I find that to be unacceptable. Okay? Unacceptable. I want every single text message. I want timestamps. It is conspicuous that you are not telling us when this was sent, because it sounds like it's when the campus is on lockdown and he's got to go back and he's got to clean up. And then all of a sudden we're in the next day when his dad is getting clued in after the picture's been released. They're not telling us that. Okay? And you have a right to be a little bit uncomfortable about that, because I'm a lot of bit uncomfortable about that. We need full answers. Further to that point, I have found this strange from the beginning that for whatever reason, we're not hearing too much about this Lance guy other than like he's been extremely cooperative. He's handed over his messages. I'm not implying that Lance was involved. I am implying that it's weird that we're not hearing more about him, right? You're telling me he lived with the guy. You're telling me us now that he's been texting with the guy about his plans. They're in love. Is nobody interested in learning more about this character? Okay, so Tyler's people are saying Tyler's a good kid. People around Tyler, classmates, are telling me he's a good kid. So I go into our tips box, and it turns out that actually Lance Twiggs' family has tried to reach out to me over the weekend. Obviously, I was in a very aggrieved state, and I was not prepared to even accept
240,000 viewers.
that Charlie Kirk was
viewers.
not on this earth, okay? And I realize that they're saying to me, like, we want to speak with you. And there's more than one family member that has reached out because we trust you and we don't trust the media. Good by me. They are, it sounds to me, a very good family. They're absolutely horrified by what has happened. And they are similarly perplexed by there not being more out there about the person he was living with, especially because what they told me, and I can tell you this exclusively, is that the house that Tyler Robinson was living in with Lance is owned by them. Tyler Robinson is paying rent to them. Okay, so they know Lance, obviously, and I'm going to cushion this with allegedly. It isn't allegedly that this is his family members telling me these details, but it is definitely, allegedly what they say until we can hear both sides. Okay, I'm going to pull this up because I took notes regarding Lance because I want to know everything. Okay. Lance, they told us, went to live with his relatives, so no longer in the house with his mother and father. Again, allegedly. His parents kicked him out junior year of high school because he was problematic. He just had issues. And at that time when they kicked him out, that wasn't exactly what they are saying legal for them to have done that. But again, he went to live with relatives and he has issues. They say that he allegedly has a lot of issues with drinking. That Christmas, approximately 3 years ago, he almost overdosed. He drank a bottle of vodka. They are telling me that they were there. They were present for this. And fear began to spread about whether or not even the family would be able to take care of him because of issues that he was having.
Is this
graduates high school,
a new unique?
Essentially, the
Is this a
extended family
new unique statement? Where it's not only Israel, but it's also transgender Israel. Israel did transgender. It's Trantifa, but also pro-Israel. Like, why the if your argument is Israel assassinated your best friend, then what difference does it make if the person who is, I guess, the fall guy, the patsy or whatever, is dating a trans person?
That was just transitioning. There's like nothing problematic. There's no prodding. They don't buy the story. Okay. Lance's family is telling me that they are not buying the current story and that they feel that more people are involved. First and foremost, they say that a lot of information should be able to be discerned by his devices because he was, according to them, deep web. Okay, this is the person that is deep on the internet. They said that he was quite reclusive, that he was always on his devices, that he's always on the web, and that there should be more information that comes from there. Okay, he turned 22, they told me, back in August, and that he was, as I said, very into this dark web stuff. I asked what he was doing for work. Like, how are they?
Boomers,
how are
so
they
they're probably like, yeah, that's right. Deep web. Oh, never mind. There's people joking about it.
And they told me that he was doing some plumbing work with somebody else.
How is there nobody in the chat? They told us
that Tyler and him had been living together for at least
250,000 people watching on YouTube, and there is no like the chat speed is so slow for the 250K. Like my chat is way faster. How is that even possible? I guess boomers don't really. They just have it on the TV. They don't really comment as much. But even then, it would like, even when you look at like the consistent, even if you looked at like the like different patterns, right? Like subscriptions and stuff like that, you would see that there would be a lot more people subscribing. There would be a lot more people donating, right? Like, look. I'll give you an example. There's only 53,000 people in here as opposed to her chat, right? Use your Twitch Prime to subscribe right now, or you can gift a sub as well to others. 53,358 people, okay? The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. Yeah, I put it on live chat, not top chat. Like, look at that. That's 53,000. YouTube doesn't have Twitch benefits. I know, but there would be a lot more. There would be a lot more people donating like top chats and shit like that for 257,000 people watching.
Twig's family doesn't feel good about what we're hearing. And we've got Decoy Boy, who's apparently involved in some deep internet stuff, I would say. It's a fair way to describe it. Decoy Boy. Okay, George Zinn. There's more people involved. That's what I'm going to say to you guys. There is very clearly more people involved, okay? This feels to me like a conspiracy. And am I emotionally invested in this? Yes. Somebody said something to, oh, you're unstable. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I have been destabilized by watching Charlie Kirk catch a bullet in his neck and then being gaslit and told nothing to see here. We've got people all around him that are telling little lies. I don't like this, okay? This doesn't feel clean to me. I need timestamps. If you're going to be transparent, be transparent. I'm not saying that you're being dishonest, that you have these text messages. I am saying that I need them in my timeline, okay? And it is just weird that you're giving exact times about certain things, and then suddenly you're like, you know what, we don't need to be so exact anymore, and we can just extrapolate what we need to tell the public a certain narrative, okay? We, the public, don't need a narrative. We need every single plausible detail. If we are ever going to regain any trust in the authorities, post-Epstein world. Okay? We're living in a post-Epstein world. It doesn't fly with us. That's not it, you guys. I have more to tell you. I am going to, I guess, at first, let's get through some ads, and we're going to get into Bill Ackman.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Hey, the Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. No ads. No ads involved, as you know. And no reason to subscribe if you don't want to, but it's totally voluntary if you would like to.
For a fact. So if you'd like to dispute that, Josh Hammer, and release your text messages and pretend that you were just, chill and supportive and thumbs up, cool. I welcome you on this platform, okay? You are allowed to literally sit next to me and say, that isn't reality, and here's how it all went down. When I was the greatest supporter and I never cared about who he had, even though I got destroyed in debate by Dave Smith on his stage, I was cool with that. I love free speech. It's amazing, okay? I'm offering you my platform to do that. I'm not here. I'm not in the business of smearing, okay? I need answers, and I don't like the fact that people are telling small lies and they're misrepresenting things, okay? Now, as I have said multiple times, what I am uncovering here is a response to what I feel was a severe misrepresentation by BB and his echo here in America, of which I would say Josh Hammer and Seth Dillon are part of that echo, okay? I am in no way attacking that narrative and associating it with the events that took place on Utah's campus, but I don't like little lies. So let's attack this lead up, okay? Let's attack this lead up because there's no reason for BB to have lied, as I've said many times. So we talked about Bill Ackman a lot yesterday. I talked about Bibi Netanyahu, the phone call, the do you want to come to Israel kind of trip kind of thing, that to multiple questions, I kind of got these invites from people like, once you speak to this person, you'll see things. Anyways, Bill Ackman responds to yesterday's episode, okay? And I have it. Hold on. I printed this out. Let me find it. Okay, here it is. It's actually right here in front of me. There are two ways to describe his response. I would describe it either as a CVS receipt. You buy one item. Next thing you know, you're holding 27 pages. You don't know why. I don't understand. I bought one chapstick, and here we are. You can also describe it as like an online recipe, something looks good. You see an online recipe. Oh, I want to make that. You want to know how to make latkes. But first, homemade chef Ackman has to tell you about how this recipe reminds him of his bubby's house and that Hanukkah they spent in Israel, and all the kids love it. And you're like, bro, just how many cups of shredded potato? Please, just give us the ingredients. This is his tweet. I printed his tweet out on 2 pages, okay? I don't know. You got to bring back the word count. The Twitter was not meant for this, okay? And because I will not be teaching a seminar or this semester on Ackman's 955-word response, I'll just provide you here with the highlights, okay? So he sets it up that he's a victim of something that never happened. Everybody watched my episode yesterday, okay? I never said the sentence, Bill Ackman blackmailed Charlie Kirk. That never happened. But of course, he's doing the typical, the Israeli brand thing is, I'm a victim, and let me tell you why I'm a victim. So he just sets it up. And I don't know why he's putting these things in parentheses of Charlie's supposed evolving stance. Okay, we can watch clips of that in a little bit. It's not supposed. And saying it's supposed doesn't make it so.
It kind of blows my mind that people tune into this. I'm not going to lie. It's like obviously having 250,000 people watching this live stream makes it somewhat newsworthy, because it's obviously a part of the current culture. Like, this is something that people are tuning into a lot more than they're tuning into Ben Shapiro, a lot more than they're tuning into Steven Crowder. Like, this is the new wave of right-wing content creators out there. It's Candace Owens. It's Tucker Carlson. It's, whether we like to admit it or not, Nick Fuentes. Obviously, many of those, especially if you're on Rumble or whatever, on those websites, it's heavily botted, but still, right? There is a lot of genuine interest in this kind of commentary, and those guys have actually actively moved away from people who are pro-Israel. Okay, but Brett Cooper is another one. Nick owns you. I think Nick should maybe own his own property for once, instead of living in his parents' basement. Nick doesn't own anything. Once again, there is, of course, an audience for losers, sexless losers, perverts, neo-Nazis, pedophiles. There's an audience for it because there's a lot of people like that on the internet. That's why there are a lot of people who were talking about, and I wanted to cover this as well. There were a lot of people that I saw on my TikTok timeline being like, they made Sam Hyde cry, or so many faillennials being like, oh, Milo Yiannopoulos is coming back. It's like, yeah, you liberals, y'all libtards don't know what you unleashed. It's like, you brought Milo Yiannopoulos back. And it's like, dude, both of those guys are pedophile Nazis. What are you talking about? Okay? Like, it's just, what do you mean? Oh, you're bringing them back. Okay, sure. Like, every single person that I just mentioned are neo-Nazi lunatics who also are pedophiles. These are your best guys? Really? Okay. Bro, being called a Nazi doesn't matter anymore, Lamau. I know.
Questions, that would be great. Like I said, it's interesting. You didn't even mention Bibi Netanyahu at all. You can stand up to him. And does anybody want to jump in and say, no, yeah, the letter Charlie wrote him in May was just like a glowing, he just was overcome with passion and said, I love Israel. You guys are amazing. You're beautiful. We're going to win this thing and you're perfect and doing nothing wrong. Love you, Bibi. I just find that weird that no one wants to address the substance of the claims here, whether or not maybe Bill himself has an opinion on whether Bibi lied by serial omission when he mentioned his last correspondences with Charlie. Because I feel like if Charlie said, I don't want to go to Israel, maybe don't bring up, I just invited him. I guess if it was friendly and everything was great and he was just going to come out, and sadly he won't be able to make it out here. And regarding, just the public here, if you're trying to decide what's real and what's fake, whether or not what we're telling you is real or fake, you can take Charlie in his own words. I mean, shout out to Village Crazy Lady on X. She's a great follow. She just reads Bill Ackman's diatribe and says, okay, she goes through the itinerary. Bill Ackman just confirmed that he hosted his meeting with Charlie on August 4th and 5th. Here's Charlie talking to Megyn Kelly the very next day on August 6th. Now, how do you think that meeting went down? Oh yeah, forgot to tell you that. That's the next day, okay? That is the next day that Charlie sits down and vents his frustration about how he is being treated. Take Charlie in his own words. And by the way, yesterday, we only showed one portion of what Charlie said to Megyn on that show. Go watch the full thing. Remember, he's with Bill, he's with Seth, he's in the Hamptons. Bill just confirmed that gratefully. And then suddenly he's overcome with a need to vent about the pressure that both he and Megyn are facing as people that have traditionally always supported Israel. Let's take Charlie in his own words. Take a listen.
My contention here is that some in the pro-Israel camp are so knee-jerk about calling you anti-Semitic or getting deeply offended.
Is it a conspiracy thing? Yes. There is a massive movement of people who think Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he was any moment now going to publicly turn on Israel. And they always point to like a total of like, I would say 2 minutes of content from a guy who did hour-long broadcasts defending Israel for years, which is so strange and ironic because these are some of his closest allies doing this.
My contention is they've begun to lose it. And I realize it's propaganda coming at us from Hamas, but their numbers have turned here in America.
Yeah,
They
were annoyed. Yes, of course they're annoyed with people who defend Israel.
Independents.
People who defend Israel are annoying.
At least double digits highs to
what do you mean?
Lows
this doesn't
now
change anything
when it comes to approval. And also with respect to, you and I speculated about this at the Turning Point event, whether the possibility of Jeffrey Epstein possibly being a Mossad agent or asset or affiliated with, that's been turned around on me too, to you must be anti-Semitic. What the hell? That's such the same people who say you can criticize Israel. That's fine.
This is
we won't
just
call
a
you
piece
anti-Semitic
of
if you
their
criticize
own
Israel.
medicine. Like this is
now,
literally
turn around immediately and say you're anti-Semitic for even raising that. I completely reject that, and I raise this as a pushback against my
I'll have to
friends.
Stop plugging your ears and closing your eyes.
That
evidence
particular
right in
strain of
front
the
of
aisle
you.
To watch it, because you don't want to alienate people who are openly your friends by going nuts in your crackdowns on mild
No, there's like
pushback
leftist
on
people who
anything
believe
related
this
to
too.
Israel.
People who just like hate Israel.
I'm so glad you brought
Okay,
this up.
I hate Israel.
Megan, I think I have.
I have no reason. I have no reason to. Okay, just listen to what he's saying
on social media, to great, let's just say mockery and scorn at times. Because I believe it, right? I believe in the scriptural land rights given to Israel. I believe in fulfillment of prophecy, and again, I'm not a theologian, but I'm a Christian. My life was changed in Israel. The spiritual energy is so amazing there. I want them to win. I've said that repeatedly.
Same.
And however, Megan, you're hitting on something very potent and important. Now, let me first say, I don't want to judge an entire group because there's been many people in the pro-Israel world that have been very sweet, very kind, very nuanced, very Charlie. You were with us. You don't have to agree all the time. However, and I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, not like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat, literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading
like he hates Israel,
Charlie,
man.
what are you doing? Like, why are you? What am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here.
Yeah, bro. This is a dude who's literally saying, "I'm your ride or die. Why are you yelling at me? You should be more worried about how your PR looks. I'm quite literally trying to hold this goddamn coalition together while still defending Israel." That's the conversation that's taking place.
I was someone who spent my life, my political life, defending
God,
Israel.
right-wingers and their anti-Israel commentary just is so frustrating. Right-wingers and the way they talk about Israel is so annoying because, like, it's either built upon. She's convincing me. Okay, well,
they just line up like you're just. It's like Agent Smith. Okay, it's like Agent Smith in the Matrix. How many can there be, all saying the same thing, and then they gaslight you? They make you think you're crazy because they're like, "Why don't you understand why what you did is really wrong?" I remember this. I remember the tweet. I said, "No person, nobody, no nation anywhere in the world has a right to commit genocide." And I was suddenly being flooded with messages from people. Dave Rubin. I remember this. I was like, "What did you mean by that?" And they're texting me.
Part of me doesn't even want to.
You can help me. What? I said something that made sense. Like, this should not offend anybody. Nobody has genocide's not cool, right? Did something change? Where was I? It's when you tweeted it, and like you could have been clearer. You should have added that Israel would never do that. I'm like, okay, you guys are being insane. This statement stands. I was referring to Brian Mast's remarks, but even if I wasn't,
I'm becoming Candace
and I just
Owens.
tweeted
Bill,
genocide
thank you for
is
showing
always
me the
wrong,
light. Hold on,
that
I'm
tweet
gonna
should
cover
always be right.
her statements in a
I
second.
can feel that energy. Okay. When you're not sure who your friends are, they're starting to gaslight you. They're making you think you're going crazy for having sensible positions. And there's no halfway house for this. Okay. I can tell you that. You're either going to take being kicked in the chest, okay, and told to get out. And then suddenly they're all communicating behind your back. And just where he talks about that article, something goes out and suddenly it's like, what's going on? They're like trying to make you think you're going crazy because you're saying
I don't even think the assumption that this could be potentially Israel is always going to be anti-Semitic. Okay? Israel obviously has a tremendous amount of influence over American politics, both defended by Christian Zionists, American Jewish Zionists alike, people who are Israeli. There are a ton of people who are pro-Israel in positions of power. Okay? Israel has also conducted high-profile assassinations without any scrutiny whatsoever. I just need you to understand something. Okay? I know all of these things. Okay? I know all of these things. I understand all of these things. One key part of this commentary fails to address the most consequential aspect of this story, which is whether or not Charlie Kirk would actually go against Trump's wishes. And on the Epstein front, there is evidence that Charlie Kirk abided by Trump's wishes, regardless of his own personal opinion on the matter. And part of the reason why I don't even want to fucking talk about this is because, like, I guess it's like beneficial for me technically for people to think this was definitely Israel. All these right wingers being like, this was definitely Israel. I hate Israel. Okay. But I also can't let it go when something is just like a stupid narrative. I have to clear misinformation. I have to clear unreasonable suspicions.
Victims, but do you want to just come and maybe stay at my place for the weekend here in Israel? Like, that's the vibe that Bibi was rushing to present to the media. So why didn't you do Carly Kirk's show? I'll leave it as a question for you guys. Common sense. Common sense, okay? I don't like small lies. And remember, Bibi started this. I am responding to his shamelessness, shameless misrepresentation of what Charlie was going through and what Charlie was saying. Because, and I want to be clear, to me right now, it feels, and I'm using a corporate term here, a bit like a hostile takeover, okay?
It misplays anti-Israel sentiment because it's just a dumb premise, to be honest.
Charlie and Charlie's honest
not even.
ideas.
It's both a dumb premise and also one that still corresponds to like the way Israel operates. So it's so stupid. It makes me so mad that people like arrive. It's like a math problem, okay? They arrive at the right answer, but when you demand they show the work shows something completely insane, okay? And it pisses me off endlessly that right-wingers and just like regular ass Americans, it's not even like a left-right situation. Like everybody's on Israel o'clock, but like if you don't arrive at Israel o'clock through the appropriate like anti-genocide, anti-fascist perspective, then you might be super predisposed to Israel-style happening in the United States of America, you know, ethno-supremacist arguments being made by a fascist administration, and you might be perfectly open to that. Do you not understand what my frustration is? On the one hand, I don't want people to not recognize the genocide and not be anti-Israel. I think that it's good that there are a fuck ton of people, but it's still dangerous in the long term if people are not anti-Israel because Israel is a fascist state. Okay? Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. No, this is the same as like people. Truth is more important than anything else. Okay? The truth is more important than anything else. Arriving at a conclusion through misinformation is dangerous in the long run.
Here that the response to me asking
the reason why I say this, especially as it pertains to Israel, is because like then you're basically saying Nick Fuentes is a beacon of truth, or is a good thing. It's good that there's a Nick Fuentes style figure out there who is anti-Semitic and also anti-Zionist, right? The reason why I take issue with that is because he's a fascist, self-described fascist. The reason why I despise Israel is because Zionism is also a fascist ideology. I'm anti-wanton murder of human beings. I'm anti-ethno-religious supremacist ideologies. I don't want America to do Israel for white Christians, for example, here on U.S. soil. I don't know why this is so difficult for people to understand. And those guys are not your allies, and they will also inevitably turn on you anyway. So, right conclusion, wrong solution in this circumstance as well, where if people arrive at this like Israel attitude through a sequence of misinformation, they are more predisposed to believing in fascist narratives when it's happening at the domestic level. Do you understand? We can't ever have any fun. I know. It seems like something easy to understand. I don't know why people aren't getting it. Because people are desperate. And if you're desperate, you want to believe, you want to say, look, nothing seems to work. Okay? Nothing seems to work. So I'll take it any way I can.